Hey, what is going on? Welcome to Moody Talk Sports. I am so sorry for being gone for a week. I unfortunately came down with an illness and it ended up being a lot worse than I thought. It ended up being a 7-day illness and I wanted to come on here last week and, still try to give my picks, but my voice was just gone. I mean, my throat was so sore and I apologize. I don't want to give you excuses, but it was a pretty bad sickness and I'm just glad to be healthy. I'm glad to be back. I wanted to still do my picks and try to come on here, but because the illness just took so long to recover from, I'm just going to scrap last week. I know that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Life goes on. I'm glad to be healthy. I'm glad to be back. And I want to do something on Wednesday today that I wanted to do last Wednesday, but I was sick. I want to do my top 10s. Now, this is going to be top 10s across a bunch of different categories: NFL quarterback, NFL running back, NFL wide receiver, my top 10 NFL teams, and my top 10 college teams, of course, as well. Now, this first series, this is when it comes to the NFL. I call this the men among the boys. This is the top 10 when it comes to quarterbacks, when it comes to wide receivers, when it comes to running backs. We will start with the quarterbacks. And listen, this is not based on past, recollection. Okay. It's not based on what you've done last year, the year before, or any of that. One of the things that really bothers me when I watch a lot of these shows or publications or whatever is, and look, I don't know how to sugarcoat it, so I'm just going to say it, but like every place I go, it's like Patrick Mahomes is at the top, right? I understand Patrick Mahomes is the most talented quarterback in the league, right? And I'm not disputing that. I understand he's there. But my lists aren't about that. I want to know how you've played this season. This is top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. I want to know what your stats are. I want to know what your record is. I want to know how good of a quarterback you are. I don't want you to be just a game manager. Now, don't get me wrong, that comes into play. But no, I want to know how good your stats are, and I want you to prove to me that as a quarterback and as a leader, you are a man among the boys. That's kind of the whole thing with that is. But again, not hating on Patrick Mahomes, but it's just so weird to see someone who is at 61% completion percentage for the year be number one on every list. I mean, we have a lot of quarterbacks that are just playing their butts off this year. And I get it. I get it. There's some lists that maybe you just think, oh, yeah, well, in the past. That's not what we're about here, baby. That's just not what we're about. So let's go ahead and dive right in. We're going to start at number 10. And at number 10, we have Drake Maye. Now, listen, I'm very impressed with what Drake Maye has done. I feel like this kind of gets swept under the rug a little bit because New England hasn't been a great team the last few years. There's a lot of New England haters, rightfully so. I was one of those for, the 20 years Brady was there. I get it. You got sick of seeing them win all the time. But the reality is this. They have a new head coach. I like him a lot. He fits that culture so well. And I think in a few years, actually, by the end of this year, I think this team could really turn it around and they could be a viable threat for the future. Drake Maye is getting it done with his legs. He's getting it done in the air. He's a gamer. He cares. He wants to be there. And some of these stats I'm seeing, I mean, basically, here's what we're looking at here. When it comes to Drake Maye, 74% completion percentage, insane. 247 yards a game, 7 tutties, 2 interceptions, a fantastic rating. I don't care if any of that's a dink and dunk or not. I really couldn't care less. He has some incredible stats, and he's playing his heart out, and that team's going to be good sooner than later, believe you me. At number 9, we have Sam Darnold. Okay, so Sam Darnold, he's this guy that last year, everyone was like, well, is it the Viking system? Is it him? Look, he might be a little bit of a game manager. I see that. I understand if you have that argument, but the reality is he kicked butt last year in Minnesota, and now he's in Seattle, and he's kicking butt again. I know Seattle was a good team. They already had a lot of good features and aspects. They have a great running back. They have a really good defense, and I think their new head coach, being a defensive-minded guy, has really built up that defense how he wants it fast. But Sam Darnold is still doing really good here. If you look at some of these stats, he has a 70% completion percentage, 226 yards a game right now, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's not doing a lot, but he's managing the game well enough combined with some really good stats, with some good completion percentage, and he is winning games, especially tight games. And I think, the only loss so far they have is that 49ers, opening week. That was a close game. It really came down to the wire. And, those first week ones, I kind of give a little leniency with. You're allowed to fail on those. So at number 8, we have Lamar Jackson. And I actually really struggled with this about putting Lamar on here at all, okay? And I fought with this, right? On one hand, Lamar has a ton of rushing yards, which is great. When it comes to Lamar and his passing, especially when it comes to his completion percentage, he's very, very good. 71%, 71.6. He doesn't average a lot of passing yards a game, but he has 10 touchdowns to 1 interception, and that's really what gets him in on this list. Now, if you're asking me, well, Nick, those sound like fantastic stats. Why is he not higher? Really, what it comes down to is it comes down to the number of attempts. He by far has one of the least amount of attempts in the league, which is crazy considering that they have Derrick Henry on the team, but Derrick Henry's not getting that many touches. So it's like, who's getting the touches? Well, Lamar's big issue, and this is a problem I've seen with him, I'd love to see him iron this out. This is motivation. This is not, I mean, it's a little bit of criticism, but it's not negative criticism. This is motivation. I would love to see Lamar try to not take as many sacks. He's taken the second most sacks this year so far. It's one of those things where based on his stats, it doesn't take anybody. I mean, most people would be able to look and see. He just wants to extend plays. He doesn't want to. Maybe this is how I just see it, but it looks like he doesn't want to hurt his stats. It looks like he doesn't want to throw it away. He would rather take a sack or he would rather try to run. I get that he's won these MVPs. I get that these numbers are pretty good on paper, but if you really dive into them, I need to see a little bit more. And let's be honest, their record isn't great either. So there's a lot to work on. It's a really weird thing, but when it comes to Lamar, I believe in him. I know he's fantastic. I got to see a little more this year. I'm not ready to move him up above that. At number 7, we have Baker Mayfield. Now, Baker Mayfield has stats that really aren't that great on paper, but if you watch the games, this guy is balling as hard as he possibly can. He's really leading this team. He led 3 games in a row, fourth quarter, last-minute drive to win the game. He's rushing the ball when he needs to. He's able to make the throws when he needs to. Really what it comes down to with Baker is you also got to remember, he's been down more than half of his offensive line through the first 3-4 games. It's been extremely rough there. Mike Evans was hurt last game. This team is just riddled with injuries. I think once they get healthy, these numbers will improve. I do want to see Baker throw the ball down the field a little bit more. I know it's a little harder for him to see. I'm sure his quarterback vision isn't the greatest over the line. I get that. But he makes the plays when he needs to, and he does a wonderful job for the majority of the part of it. And he's the reason the Bucs have won 3 games. That's all there is to it. All right, next up, we have number 6. Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes. Wow, who would have seen this coming? Not me. Daniel Jones, I know they just lost a tough one against the Rams, but look, the guy has over 1,000 passing yards. When it comes to his completion percentage, it's 72%. He's throwing it for 9 yards an attempt. He's averaging 270 a game. Not a lot of touchdowns, but not a lot of interceptions either. And frankly, when you have Jonathan Taylor, why do you need to pass it in the end zone anyway? Pass it all the way down the field, just hand it to him and watch him walk in. He's done amazing this year. It's amazing how a change of scenery can really help someone. I'm impressed, and I hope he continues on. I hope he keeps rising this list, to be honest with you. I love the underdog, so I'd love to see him at 4, 3, 2. Keep pushing, Danny Dimes. Keep pushing. I believe in you. All right, next up, we have Matthew Stafford at number 5. Matthew Stafford, I think, benefits from having some really, really good wide receivers, but I'm not going to make excuses for him. When it comes to Matthew Stafford, he's still over 1,100 yards, 68% completion percentage, 280 a game, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He has taken a few sacks. The offensive line isn't great, but despite that, he still hangs in there. I know he's got some back issues. Some were true, some not, but I know his back is hurting him. He's 37. My back hurts me, and I'm 32, so I get it. But he's still a baller. He still does really good. He might be benefiting from the McVay system, sure, but as long as these stats are still good, he's still a top 5 guy in my book. So, until anything changes, that's where we're at. Number 4, we have Jordan Love. Now, I know their last 2 games haven't been great, but if I look at the stats, he's still doing really well. I think this team is trying to figure some things out. I think they'll be better in the second half than they are in the first. He's at 1,000 yards. He's at 70% completion almost. 250 a game, 8 touchdowns, 1 reception, doesn't turn the ball over a lot. I heard someone say that Jordan Love, he just doesn't have these explosive plays, but his floor is really, 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 really high. I can see that. And look, that's enough to get you in there. I mean, the stats are good enough. You know, he doesn't have any like big name superstar wide receivers. He still gets it done. I love their tight end craft. He seems to be able to dump the ball off really well, and he seems really comfortable there. So right now, 4 is a great spot for him. I hope it continues. But Green Bay's got some stuff they got to figure out. So hopefully sooner rather than later. Next up, at number 3, we have Jared Goff. And listen, Jared Goff is just. I don't get it. I mean, he doesn't move outside the pocket. He just hangs back in there. And listen, as a quarterback, that's all you got to do. I know it's crazy, but there was a time when you actually didn't have to bounce around and do a bunch of crazy extracurriculars. You could just stand in the pocket and make amazing throws and be a top 3 quarterback in this league. That still exists, my friends. It's still here, and that's what Jared Goff does. You know, he doesn't have a ton of yards, only 929, but 74% completion percentage. He throws the ball down the field, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And, you know, this team is going through the new coordinators. They're going through a lot of new stuff. He's got a lot of weapons around him, sure, but he's poised, and he looks really good. And I think by the end of the year, there's going to be talks of MVP in there, for real. So he's a top 3 quarterback in my book for sure. Number 2, I have Josh Allen. And Josh Allen right now, actually, the only reason he doesn't really get the top spot is because it's just who they played. It's strength of schedule. You know, when they first played Baltimore, we thought, oh, man, what a great win. But now that Baltimore's fallen off, we're like, okay, well, how really good was that win? And then since then, it's been Miami, which is kind of a mess. And then now it's been, you know, the New Orleans Saints, which are a mess. I just don't. He has, and it's not his fault, but he just hasn't played enough teams yet for me to be like, okay, no, he's deserving of that top spot. He's very close. He's number 2. He continues to be Josh Allen. I think his head's in a good space. I think his maturity's in a great space. He got married. That seems to be doing really well for him. He has a big smile on his face. So we'll see. That could change very, very soon. But at number 1, I got to be real with you, and this is completely from left field for me. Dak Prescott. And listen, I'm not a Cowboy lover. I'm not a Cowboy fan. I feel like with Cowboys, you're either a lover or a hater, and I guess I'd fall into the hater category. But I have to be fair here. And Dak Prescott not only has the most impressive stats of any quarterback in the league right now, you know, over 1,100 yards, 73% completion, 6 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, you know, 280 a game. But what's crazy about Dak is he's having to lead that team. And for years, I have stood on this table and I have said, listen, he can't do that. That's why he's not worth the money they're paying them. He can't lead this team, right? Now, even with CeeDee Lamb gone, he still puts up a great performance and ties Green Bay. No one thought they even had a shot in that game. You know, Vegas had him, I think, as a touchdown underdog, or, you know, just insane. There's just, you know, the thing is that I don't know if it's the coaching, I don't know if it's him, but he just seems so mature, he seems so poised, and he is just making some incredible throws despite not really having that good of a team around him. And maybe the team is better than we thought, but regardless, he is just playing so well, and he really proved me wrong. And so I think that this is a good spot for him. Right now, he is playing like he's the best in the league based on the stats, based on the eye test, based on everything. He is having to lift that team above a lot of crap, and he's doing it. So they're relevant. We're talking about them. And not only that, I think this could be a team with a winning record. They might make the playoffs. I mean, if they keep this up, they might. If CD gets healthy, we'll see. George Pickens with a great game last time to fill in that role as well. So that's my top 10. Now, real quick, some of you might be wondering why I don't have Patrick Mahomes in the top 10 at all. In fact, actually, I'll go ahead and give these. These are the guys that were on my bubble, per se. The guys on my bubble were Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and Caleb Williams. And listen, all 3 of these guys actually are playing, especially Caleb in the last couple weeks, and Patrick last game had an amazing game. Justin's been playing his butt off all year long. Really what it comes down to, though, is it just comes down to those stats. Remember, I'm not looking at last year. I'm not looking at what you've done in the past. I'm looking at what you've done for me lately. And, you know, let's start, I guess, with Patrick Mahomes. That's going to be the big one I probably catch a lot of flack for. But look, 61% completion. And I know you could say, hey, Nick, he hasn't had his receivers. You can say, you know, Travis Kelce's a shell of himself. You can say all that, right? Excuses are great. But the reality is that I look at that 61%. And then I look at Bryce Young at 60, and I look at, you know, like Michael Penix Jr. at 62, Geno Smith at 63, Bo Nix at 65. Obviously, that stat doesn't mean everything, but It's a low stat. 234 yards a game. Now, Patrick does have the 7 touchdowns to 1 interception, which is great, but 4 of those touchdowns came against the Ravens defense. And it was the last game. Throughout this season so far, he has just not played the best football. And when it comes to him, I see him as a mid-tier quarterback right now. That could change. Kansas City could get on a roll now that they're getting their receivers back. This could change next week, and in 3-4 weeks, he could be up in the top 3. We'll see. But right now, based on these stats, I just and from seeing the games, I just don't feel comfortable putting him there. I just don't. I'm sorry. And I see these publications all over. I see these top 10 lists, whether it's from ESPN or Fox Sports or whatever, and they're always just like, yeah, well, he's number 1. He's been to 3 Super Bowl. I get all that. He is the most talented. But what have you done for me right now? That's what I'm about, baby. At least on this segment.